Welcome to Whiskey Politics on Ricochet.com. I'm Dave Sussman, the purveyor at whiskeypolitics.net. You can find us at Ricochet.com, and also please subscribe to us at iTunes, and don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and a review so others can find us. Well, I'm here with conservative street artist Sabo. You all know who the man is, and we're actually where the magic is made around us here at Sabo's home. Thanks for inviting us in, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. So, as I drove in this morning, we met up. You told me that you're now dealing with being banned. Not just Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, but GoDaddy?
Yeah, you know, GoDaddy, they just shut down my site this morning for copyright problems.
What happened?
You know, it was that Grammy poster I did. I've never received so much help from one poster, but it got me 7 days on Facebook, 3 months on YouTube, and fortunately, I still have my Twitter. But I woke up this morning and my wife is like, you might want to look at your site. And they totally shut it down, which disappoints me because I've been with GoDaddy forever. And you would think that they would at least like contact me. But no, not at all.
Is this, okay, so you talk about copyright infringement. You have the posters, Miley Cyrus, and who was the other one?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. Okay, so they say it's copyright infringement. But in light of what we saw with James O'Keefe in the past couple of weeks with the shadow banning, the shadow blocking of conservatives and this and that, is this just an excuse for them? I mean, how many times have you been banned by YouTube and Twitter and Facebook?
Oh, I've been in Facebook jail for like 2 years, I'm sure, like on and off.
Right.
Twitter, not so much, and I'm kind of shocked because I'm pretty outrageous on Twitter. But I have been banned on it a couple of times. This is the first time for YouTube, and for it to be so long. I mean, I can't get on till late April, so that
3 months.
Yeah, well, that's for like live streaming.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I think that they're doing me a favor because there's so many different ways to video these days that it was kind of spreading me way too thin. This kind of forces me to video and then upload.
Right.
Hopefully I can still upload. I haven't checked. But if that's the case, then I can put a little more production value into what I'm doing.
Okay, okay. So the pieces that you were banned for, they are pertaining to, you know, the Me Too-ism that's happening in Hollywood right now. A lot of what you believe and most of us believe is the hypocrisy that we're coming out. You were at the there was a Hollywood, there was an HBO Vice piece, right, that was done of you that followed you right before the Golden Globes. Mm-hmm. And you put pieces all over the Beverly Hilton area. What was the reaction from that?
The reaction was pretty amazing. But what really got me a lot of reactions was the She Knew poster, which I worked in collaboration with another team. So the amount of attention we got for that was pretty out of control. Yeah.
And the HBO piece?
Well, the HBO piece was a result of that, but it was a good response. I mean, I didn't hear anything negative from it. I was expecting for it to be a hit piece, but no, I thought they were pretty fair.
It seemed pretty fair.
Yeah.
Although 3 minutes for an entire day of filming, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, well, I must say, yeah, I was a little bummed out when they said, oh, it's only going to be a 5-minute piece. And it's not that I need a lot of face time.
Right.
It's just that there was just so much work involved. It was ridiculous. By 7 o'clock at night, my brain is shut down, and I still had another 6-7 hours to go at least.
Right. But you're getting a lot of press from it. Hollywood Reporter, I think Variety Magazine did a piece.
Yeah, a lot of people did. I try not to keep up, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people reported on that. Right.
I mean, you're getting to the point where you're almost ubiquitous. Like, everybody knows Sabo now. I've seen you at several different conferences and like. What is conservatives are one thing, but just the larger community. You're here in Los Angeles, right? You've got the Oscars coming up here. What are people saying to you outside of our little echo chamber about what you're doing?
The street art community, I'd like to think in Los Angeles,
right,
has always kind of known about me. And there was a certain point when they were like, oh my God, this guy's for real. It's like, he's not trolling. So I've got them pretty much taken care of. As far as the conservatives, I always worry about the conservatives because I don't want to do something that's eventually going to piss them off, which I'm very likely to do. And I know during the Vice piece, I called myself a right of center liberal from the 60s.
Yeah.
And which kind of begs a question for me, what exactly am I? And I remember answering that question for them. It's like, I told them what I believed, and a lot of it didn't necessarily fall on one side of the fence or the other. Mm-hmm. So, I've been a Republican my whole life. Mm-hmm. I probably will die one, or an independent or something, or a libertarian. But I can't ever see waking up saying I'm a leftist or a progressive, which I hate even saying because it implies that they are somehow progressive, which they're not.
Where did that transition happen, just from your perspective? We're almost exactly the same age, okay? They say that JFK today would be a good, strong conservative, right? The idea of liberalism, or the classic L liberal, is about individualism. Where did the left lose that, where it became group identity now?
Well, I think what was going on, and this is just my opinion, communism seeped in. It's like socialism, communism, and their main goal is to just tear at the fabric of America. And they found a really nice home with the Democrat Party, mm-hmm. and it just went downhill from there for that party anyways.
Yeah, and leftism, which has ingratiated itself into our higher education, spit out all of these people with this philosophy, are now in corporate America. They're making decisions in Hollywood and cultural organizations. From your perspective, you're, again, a member of the artistic community, which has historically always been leftist, okay? The renegades were the leftists. Now you call conservatism the new punk.
Yeah, and we are. To some degree we are. I worry that we're going to find some level of stability, and then we're going to revert back to being pusses. And I'm already starting to hear it. It's kind of like, you're degenerates and you're this and you're that. Talking about people on our side. And I'm like, you know what one is...
Conservatives are saying you.
Fortunately, I haven't had people like barb at me or like tear at me. But I hear them attack other people on the right with that. And all I can say is, what won the day was Trump and his ability to be bombastic to some degree.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's just, the whole thing about freedom of speech, the ability to defend yourself, the individual, I don't think that's right or left. I think that's just correct. And it just opens up the gate for a lot of infighting. I don't know. But I realize it doesn't make much sense what I'm saying. I sound like I'm straying a bit.
No, I think what you're saying is exactly... I mean, you're following along the same lines of Andrew Breitbart, right? Rest in peace. He talked about politics being downstream from culture, mm-hmm. right? And you are culture. And so, if you create the culture, you bring in a lot of like-minded people that all of a sudden wake up and realize, well, wait a minute, maybe I am right of center on these issues. Maybe I am believing more in the individual as opposed to the state. And I think that's a benefit to anybody that wants to have that conversation as opposed to just watching the screaming talking heads on cable news. Right?
Yeah. And after a while, they get old. I get tired of hearing them. There was a time in my life when I can tell you who I was listening to when I woke up and turned the radio on, and who I was listening to when I went to bed.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen so much anymore. It's like,
who did you cut your teeth on? Talk about your genesis in politics.
I've loved politics my whole life. It's like I would say when I was like 5 or 6, I'd wake up in those Archer B. Daniel commercials from some Talking Heads television show.
PBS.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. And then Rocky and Bullwinkle afterwards. So I was one of those really weird kids. And I always loved the soap opera that was politics. And I love the players. I knew the players and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And so that's...
So you came of age during Reagan.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I do. But I remember saying, well, maybe we should look at this Democrat for. That's the only time I ever said anything positive about a Democrat, and that was Jimmy Carter. And I remember
you were like 9 years old, 8 years old.
Yeah, if I was lucky,
right,
yeah, probably.
Right.
I mean, I remember Nixon and such, not very well, but I remember him like hearing his name all the time growing up.
Right.
And that's probably why I said something as ridiculous as, let's give the Democrat a shot.
Right.
But like I knew what was going on in politics.
It's 76, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that made me like 9 years old or something, 8, 9. But, and then, Reagan shows up. I was in the Marine Corps when Reagan was in.
Right.
You start listening to people like Rush. Rush was like one of the big ones that first came in. And then, Larry Elder. And there was just like a host of people way back in the 90s that I would listen to.
Yeah.
And Lord knows I didn't know anyone else who was. But
we would have hung out. I was in the early 90s. I cut my teeth on Rush as well,
Yeah, but, like anything else, to be fair, I tuned Rush off, and when they were giving Bill Clinton such a hard time.
Listen to G. Gordon Liddy?
No, well, I probably did. Yeah, I did. I did a little here and there.
Yeah.
He just wasn't that available.
Right.
But that was back in the day when you still had a bit of reverence or a bit of respect for the man in office. So it was like, okay, I didn't vote for Bill Clinton, but he's still the president.
Right.
And
right.
so I'm like, why is Rush hitting on him so hard? And so it kind of turned me off. But then it didn't take very long. It's like, okay, now we're talking about rape. It's like, I'm being told all day long that rape is a serious offense. Why is everyone in Hollywood circling the wagons around Bill Clinton? This isn't making sense to me. And so that's when it pretty much turned. I think that was the first time I understood how Hitler. I hate bringing the guy's name up because everyone throws Hitler in there, but it's kind of like I was like, okay, I understand how an entire group of people can side with someone who's clearly wrong, and they're just willing to just put the blinders on and move forward because he's their guy. And I mean, when Code Pink, when all of the women's movement in Hollywood circle the wagons around him during rape accusations.
Yeah.
That was about as extreme as you can get, and it was a little frightening. I would say that I was already red-pilled this long before there was such a thing, but that was the moment when I was like, okay, something's really wrong here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we just had Jordan Peterson on yesterday, and all the kids are now talking about being red-pilled as soon as they get, they go down that wormhole. We also had Juanita Broderick on, and she talked about, him raping her and leaving the hotel room in 1978 and saying, you better put some ice on that, Yeah. You refer to Hitler, and there's a lot of examples and analogies that you could use of that. Hitler came into Germany at a time when the German people were just down and out. World War I, it just killed them, poverty, hyperinflation, and all of this. And he just started figuring out what people wanted to hear. The Democrats, it's 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, going all the way up to today, the leftists, the progressives, which are extreme left now. I'm trying to understand, maybe, you can give me some insight into this, where their anger has come from, why they are so ready to believe the victocrat, anybody but the white cisgender male today is a victim, and we're going to circle the wagons on that. I mean, that's their new flag, right?
Well, I believe the reason they're able to do it, Andrew Breitbart hit it right on the head, man. It's like we completely abandon culture. We have nothing to do with it. We let the school systems go. Anything that basically shapes an opinion or your thoughts on a matter was taken over by the left. And to such a degree to where it's a given that they're the good guys and we're the bad guys. And it's kind of like, and once that just seed is planted in your soul and you just know it from balls to bone, that that's just the way that it is, of course you're going to fight the bad guys. And who are the bad guys? It's us, the Republicans. And they're going to do whatever they have to do in order to defeat the bad guys. But what I love seeing these days is you see all these left-wing policies. They're just completely falling apart. They never own up to anything that they screw up. And after a while, after so many decades, you get to step back and see every slum in America is run top to bottom by Democrats. It's like they're basically voter farms. Voter plantations is basically what they are. And they keep them fed just enough to keep voting for them. And they can only hide from that reality. They can only hide from those facts long enough. Mm-hmm. And I really think that the minorities are starting to wake up slowly but surely to it.
Well, they certainly are talking about higher polling numbers in the African American and Latino community. A lot of people support this president. You know, they want to see a DACA bill passed that's going to increase security, not just open up the borders. You know.
Yeah, and if anything, I think we're starting to wake up and realize that we have to take back a piece of that narrative, and the way you do that is through creativity. What good's a story if you don't have a good storyteller to tell it? Or to write it, for that matter.
Right.
Or to write it, for that matter. And I think we're starting to see that that's what we need. It doesn't work out very well for us when the people defining us are our enemy. Mm-hmm. We need people on our side to start doing that. And it's starting to happen. So with that, we were kicking the left's butt with AM radio. Mm-hmm. They had FM, they had
Air America,
television.
Yeah.
They had the movies, they had everything. And we were still kind of kicking their butt with the bastard child of radio. What that tells me is our message is just so much purer, so much better. And we can dominate with so little force. When we start getting our toes into the arts, mm-hmm. Into the movies, whatever, it's just going to devastate the left.
Yeah.
One theme that I like seeing kind of sprouting up is when you're standing across Antifa or some leftists and they're calling you a Nazi, but they're proudly proclaiming to be communists.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute. Not that the Nazis were good people, but they murdered tens of millions of people.
Yeah.
The communists murdered hundreds of millions of people.
Right.
And you're wearing their banner like it's nothing.
Yeah, it's the lack of acknowledging history or being even educated in history is stunning to me from these people.
That's why they took civics out of school. That's why they took a lot of the histories, I guess, out of school. I don't know what they're learning in school, but it ain't much, let me tell you.
Yeah. Now, you talk about creating that story that you were just referring to and how we create. This is what you do. With your art, you're creating a story. You're highlighting people's hypocrisy. You're showing the leftist. I'm looking around here, and we do a little bit of a tour here in a little bit moment. But right now, you're focused on Hollywood, okay? Because it's award season, right?
Yeah,
and you got the Me Too focus right now. Got Oscars coming up. Without specifics, because I know you always like to plant things secretly. What are your plans?
I can't tell you what they are, but I might
actually. Something.
Yeah. I really can't. The last thing I need. I've gotten way too loose and free with telling people what I do.
Okay.
And it's just been a miracle that I haven't been busted. But this one, if I even do anything, I hope that it's all right in scale. And I might actually even go to the Oscars. I think someone contacted me. They said,
"You were telling me,
yeah, we have a ticket, and you're going to the Governor's Ball and the Variety. What is it? Variety Fair. They have
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. Yeah, Vanity Fair.
The fact that I knew that's a miracle.
Yeah. So it's like, well, that's good, but obviously, I can't roll in there like a complete jackass because they'll just stop me at the door.
Yeah.
So it's like. What I'll probably do is do what I'm going to do on the side and then just try and enjoy myself at the Oscars without being so bombastic that I'm just going to get carried and thrown out.
And I think bombastic isn't something that you are in person. Here's the thing. If you follow you on Twitter, everything's in block letters, you're screaming it out, blah, 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 and there's a lot of stuff that goes across the line for some people, and you get in a lot of debates with people. You see it on Facebook, but you and I've met many times. You're just a nice guy. And you're intellectual. And we had an episode of Whiskey Politics sometime last year. Just intelligent, right? And so meeting these people at the Vanity Fair, they might be surprised and realize, holy cow, wait a minute, this guy isn't what I've been led to believe.
You know, I get that a lot, and don't get me wrong. I can be pissed. There are people out there that know that I can get upset, but for the most part, I'm a fairly chilled guy. I'm not the demon that they think I am. The irony is, like, we'll just take racism for example. We're starting to learn that that's just how the left tries to shut down their opposition.
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing racist about what I do. It may come across, it may be perceived as such, but I could tell you the context of what I'm doing. But the ultimate goal is to free the black community or minority communities from the death grip the Democrats have from them, on them. And that's not racist at all. That's trying to put a mirror in front of their face and go, look at the ugly warts that you have, compliments of the Democrat Party. You have got to break off from this terrible marriage that you have with them.
Yeah.
And of course, the natural reaction the left is going to give is, he's a racist, we've got to shut him up. So, yeah.
We had Deneen Borelli on, and we were talking about the new Democratic plantation. Right? And it's just this generational cycle of dependency that they have created for the inner city. And here we are on the outside, and because our skin color doesn't match, we're not allowed to have an opinion about economic policy or what we believe is, the best for motivating people and giving them incentive. We should just shut up, otherwise we're racist?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, their entire generations in prison.
Yeah.
It's kind of, people will break the law just to be in prison with grandma. You know what I'm saying?
That's incredible.
It's wrong. I mean, if you go to downtown LA, my God, the homeless problem that's going on down there is just ridiculous.
It's not just downtown anymore, Sabo. It is everywhere. It has spread out like you go down to San Diego in Orange County. It's everywhere now. It's third world California.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do, I like skating down to the beach and stuff like this. I mean, just yesterday, I saw this complete loon, two of them actually, just screaming at people that are just trying to get to the train. It's like, and that doesn't include all the people in the tents that are just lined up. And then you've got all these RVs that people park on the sides of the roads that are actually mobile homes.
Yeah.
It's like, and it smells like feces in that area all the time. It's sick. And, California used to be a golden state. Now look at it.
Yeah. There's an event coming up March 17th for those folks in and out of California that wants to attend. You're going to be speaking. It's called Saving California, Connect the Dots.
Yes.
It's at the Burbank Marriott, I believe, is March 17th.
I may not be speaking, but I'll definitely have a booth and maybe having a bit of a tutorial thing, like how to do this. Or
right.
Like
where people get to meet you and see your art.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody that's listening to this, they think, oh, California is just a throwaway state at this point. We'll never get them back. But a lot of the policies and trends that happen in California do spread across the country, and we see it in other states. Do you think California is savable?
Yes, I do. The problem with California are the Republicans. It's like, almost every Republican I run into has a white flag in their back pocket just waiting to whip it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're a redheaded stepchild that got slapped so many times that they just don't want to argue with the left anymore. They just want to go along to get along. It's like, no, it's time to fight. It's time to say, I'm not a racist for saying this, that, or the other. And we've got the numbers, I believe. We just don't have the gusto. We just don't have the guts. And we just have to get them.
Maybe they can learn something from this new president who has the appetite to fight. Maybe we can learn how to fight.
I'm worried that they don't. I'm worried that if we're fortunate enough to have Trump for 8 years, he's going to come and go, and it's going to be business as usual. Afterwards, we're just going to get the same old political lawyers who are just beholden to whomever, and they're just going to be politicians all over again. It's like, no. When are people going to understand that we're fed up, we're tired, we want a good fight? And I hope we walk away from the whole Trump administration with some understanding of that. But it scares me to think that we're just going to revert back to being pusses.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Listen, they call me an optimist, call me an idealist, but when my 17-year-old son, who has nothing but disdain for this president, it's a generational thing, right? When we were at that age, we thought, Republicans are evil. When he says about the State of the Union speech a couple of nights ago, you know what? He did a really good job. I agreed with a lot of what he said. Now you're going to have a whole, whether it's 4 or 8 years, and I think it could be 8, you're going to have a whole new generation of people that are going to grow up with a better understanding of individualism and liberty. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Well, I mean, I hear that about the coming generation. Like they're a little more conservative, but I mean, if I had a son like that, and he was sitting across the table from me and said something that I thought was ridiculous, I'd be like, "Hey, am I raising an idiot or what?" It's like, and if you think I won't throw your ass out of the house when you're 18, you're crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like Benjamin Franklin divorced his whole family because he thought they were idiots or something to that degree. I mean, you got to be like that. So I don't like being around idiots, and I sure as hell did not raise one. So now you're either going to tell me why this guy is who you say he is, mm-hmm. or you're just not going to bring it up at the table anymore. I'm your father. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, and you could certainly do that, and I do that to a certain degree, but I also do it with facts and try to get him to understand it, as opposed to being forced into saying one thing or another. But the thing is that you've got you've got this generational shift change after 8 years of Obama. Okay, mm-hmm. Think about this. I mean, 8 years is a long time for many people, and depending upon how old you are, we've got this entire group of people that went through college and have graduated, and the number one thing for them about Obama. What is his legacy? He's the first black African-American president, right? We'll talk about policy issues. What's his legacy there? Well, Obamacare's kind of failed, and the Iran deal is a disaster, and the economy never went higher than, a couple of points GDP at any one time. I mean, what is that legacy? Now we've got this real improvement. I don't know. I think that lends itself well to conservatism being a force to reckon with in the future. Again, I could be idealistic.
Well,
you can disagree.
You're talking to a bunch of people that are running around wearing vagina suits and vagina hats.
Yeah.
And they would rather punch you in the face than have a conversation with you. I've been to many rallies, and let me tell you, at these rallies, if you go to interview people, the minute one of the handlers in the rally figures out that you're asking legit questions, not even pointed questions, just legit questions, they're going to pull the person away and they're going to start screaming, "Trumper, Trumper!"
Yeah.
And
you've done some YouTube videos on this. I've seen them.
Yeah, because it's like they know they don't have a foot to stand on.
Yeah.
They know they make no sense.
Does the left understand how pathetic they? I mean, when you're dressed up in it looks like, I always say, it looks like a sideways pastrami sandwich, right? They're dressed in these, and they're walking down the street together. Do they understand how pathetic most people think this is?
They don't. What scares me is I was on those streets during the first and the last Women's Day march. Uh-huh. I saw rivers of people. It was scary. You couldn't even walk through there. It was so crowded. How we've lost so many people. You cannot tell me that these are all dumb people.
Right.
And it's scary. It's just scary to think. Because it doesn't matter if they're dumb. They can still run you over. You know, do they know?
And they could still cancel your vote.
They could still cancel your vote. And, the thing is, they could still cancel your vote, but I don't know. It's just, I find it very troubling that can even exist. So no, I don't think that they know. I think they firmly have it in their mind that we're the evil people and we need to be stopped.
So instead of talking with them or throwing, Google links at them on Facebook or anything else, there has to be alternatives to try and get the message out of individuality and self-reliance and capitalism. And you do this with your art. There's other people that do things with books and music and this and that. What do you see as far as what the future is for cultural conservatism?
I don't know.
You're sticking around for a while.
I'm sticking around. It's if what I do requires an individual to step away from their comfort zone. It's like politically and in every way. If I were to teach a class, the first thing I would do on day one is have everyone write down what they value the absolute most. And then the next day, I would say, we're going to spend the entire semester you preaching against that thing in the most brutal way. Because that's just what you have to do. You have to shed yourself from I don't know if you want to redo this because of the dog, but I'm sorry. I mean, what you have to do is you have to shed yourself from this comfort zone that you're just so used to.
Right.
And so in order for us to have the artists that we need, they're going to have to find that place. And that's a very hard place for an individual to find. So what you're going to wind up having are a bunch of Jesus rock bands and, Jesus punk rock bands and, type things. And I don't mean Jesus in a bad way. Mm-hmm. What I mean is you're just going to have a lot of milquetoast rebels. It's like, we don't need milquetoast rebels. We need rebels. We need someone that, like Trump, he could grab Hillary by the face and kick her in the teeth. It's like, and that's a very hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. But, so where are we going to be? I feel comfortable in the thought that I'm probably going to be the sharpest fang out there for a while. But and don't get me wrong, man, I'm more than happy to have people come up.
Yeah. What's that like for you personally? I mean, just from a standpoint of taking incoming.
I'm used to it, man. My skin's fairly thick. I'm used to the fight. I love the fight. It's like I would rather be in a room with 5 liberals going at it against them than the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's just par for the course for me.
Yeah, yeah. When you get a piece or a project that you do, such as the Golden Globes, and it goes viral, there's stuff on Drudge Report, millions, hundreds of tens of millions of people, right, will actually see your artwork. Does it give you any sense of, or I guess, a level of acknowledgement of, holy cow, like, so many people are seeing what I have created right here that's come from my own head? What is that like?
It would blow your mind how little I think about it.
Really?
It's like, there are people right now that are probably laughing, thinking, oh my God, yeah, right, he's got the biggest ego in the world. I'll joke about things, but it's like, I truly believe that something inside of me died when my little sister died. Like way back in 2001. It's like something happened to me. And someone else took over at that point. And then when you have your mother, your father, your stepfather, your step-grandparents, when they're all dead and all you've got left is a couple of people, you start appreciating other things in life. I've lived in this city long enough to know that I don't need to be friends with Tom Cruise. I don't need to be friends with Fergie or any of these people. I don't chase my tail in that world. Mm-hmm. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy the beautiful sunset or sunrises that we have in California, the beautiful weather. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy the day. Those are the things that are important to me. It's like I have no idea. It blows me away when I get that attention, but it doesn't register in my head. It's like there's something not there. There's certain gears that just aren't there.
Right.
And
it's a cognitive dissonance for you.
I trip out when I'll Google my name and I'll see what I'm doing in the press and stuff like that. But more times than not, I don't even read the articles.
This humility, this modesty. You and I were talking before we started taping here, and we were talking about other conservative icons or people that have got a lot of followers right now, people that are kind of the flavor of the day, maybe got a lot of Twitter followers. And you were talking about how some of these people are kind of here today, gone tomorrow because their ego just explodes, and what happens to that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't chalk it up to humility or modesty either, because I think that requires some effort. I mean, I don't even put that effort in there. It's like I can be a brash person. I do consider myself an artist, and in the gayest form that you could think, I'm an artist kind of a thing. Yeah. It's like for me to do what I do requires a lot of time and practice and work that I've done. I want to revisit a lot that I don't exercise anymore. a lot of my technical knowledge and with website design.
Dude, you're 50. You got to start walking.
Yeah. No, but it's, I want to revisit those things. But it's like as far as those other people go, I've seen a large number of opportunists, a large number of, and I knew it was going to happen. That voice was telling me, it's like, these people, they're going to start showing up, man. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, I think their greatest skill is marketing themselves. It's like pushing themselves. And I admire it. I'm not going to hate them for it. It's like, God bless them. It takes a lot of work to do that. Maybe I should take some pointers from them. But I'm lazy. I want to be able to do what I want to do. It's like I enjoy just doing what I want to do. When it turns into a job and I have to be accountable, then it kind of loses its fun.
Well, this is where your passion is. And they say do what you love, and it's not work.
Yeah, I remember saying I was here before there was an alt-right. I'll be here after it's gone. I was here before street art really blew up.
Is there still an alt-right? I mean, wasn't that just a media concocted term during the election to scare people?
Well, what the that almost answers the question that you asked earlier. It's like my interpretation of the alt-right in the very beginning was just a bunch of ass-kicking people on the right that got fed up with the establishment in Washington.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you've got Richard Spencer said, no, it's mine. And it's like, well, I got nothing to do with
Nazi
Richard Spencer.
Guy. Yeah,
exactly. I've got nothing to do with Richard Spencer. So it's maybe I'm not alt-right. No, maybe you're not, but you're still that ass-kicking young dude or whatever from the right that got tired of what was going on in Washington, and you wanted to do something about it. So it doesn't matter what your label is. And sure enough, it happened. And even more than that, I predicted it was going to happen really fast because it was so effective. And same thing happened with the Tea Party. And what you're basically seeing is just another success on the part of the left, demonizing, alienating, and destroying. It's all Saul Alinsky tactics.
Right.
And as always, we fold. And it's like, no, quit folding. It's like I'm not those things that they call me, and screw you. It's like, So where is the alt-right? I don't know. They're too busy fighting each other. Alt-right, alt-light, this and that. At the end of the day, I get to laugh, and I'm like, you know what? I was here before they were here. I'm going to be here after. Because I believe in what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing. It's nice that I can make a living at it.
Yeah.
I hope I can maintain that. But I don't know.
From a 5,000-foot overview, it's really interesting to see, like through the lens of just the past 10 years. You had the Tea Party, which led to the conservative wave in the elections in 2010, 2014. Maybe it led to Trump, I don't know. Then you had that alt-right. And, if we look maybe a year down, 2 years down the road, you have this new iteration of whatever comes from that. Because those people are still out there. Those people are still voting. They still have the same passions that you're talking about.
Well, what I hope from them is, the thing about the left is if you run across anyone in West Hollywood and you say, hey, so are you involved in politics? They're going to say, yes, I'm the executive chairman of the graphic department. Everyone's doing something.
Right.
You ask someone on the right, hey, are you interested? Oh, no, not really. I'm not interested. Ain't nothing cool about politics. I just want to go bass hunting, cook a steak, drink some beer, hang out with the guys. And make a living,
right.
Raise the kids, do
Take
a good
care
job.
of the family.
And, they're not interested in politics.
Yeah.
But they're starting. I hope that they maintain that, regardless what they call themselves, Tea Party, alt-right, or whatever they decide to call themselves. I just know it. All I know is one day out of the week, you got to either put that barbecue grill aside and do something that has something to do with politics. Or hell, have your barbecue. Yeah. But have your friends over and discuss politics.
This is why what you're doing is so critically important. I had from an anecdotal standpoint, I have a buddy of mine who really is apolitical. He leans to the right on some issues, leans to the left on social issues mostly. He calls me out of the blue and he says, man, I've been listening to your show. I'm just sucking up all this information I've never heard before. I've never explained it before like this. And so it's, what you're doing is exactly the same. You're creating people to all of a sudden wake up and realize, well, wait a minute, yeah, I do agree with that, and that is hypocritical, and and this is exactly what I've been thinking all along, but I've been too busy to, So I think the cultural approach that you've taken, right? I think it is critical if you want to bring more people into the fold. If it's a 50-50 country, you want to get to 51, you want to get to 52 or 53, you don't need that many people. Just enough people to see what you're doing. And then you could shift the direction of the country. I think that's commendable. I do.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully. I don't plan on easing up in terms of how vicious I can be at times. But I want to say I don't think I put that much thought into it, in that one day I woke up in my mid-30s or something, and I just said, I don't like working in these places, startups and this and that. I want to do what I want to do for the first time in my life, and that's what I pursued. Fortunately for me, all the stars kind of aligned in the proper way to where there was no creatives on our side. Well, now I'm becoming one. Mm-hmm. Our side's starting to wake up a little more. Our side's starting to be a little more aggressive. I was doing all those things. So basically my ship was just charted in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason for me to change course. Mm-hmm. It's like I would love to teach one of these days. I think one of my goals would be to have an incubator of sorts, to where it's a big room, and that's where you do video editing. This is where you do silk screening. This is where you do computer design, whatever else. And when I was younger, I was the first one in and the last one out. It's like the boss would have to open the door while I was sitting there, and I would go in and work, and then I would probably lock up on the way out because I loved what I did. These days, you can't get a kid to work 4 days out of the week. And if you were able to, they want to come in at 10, they want to leave at 3. And it's like, no, man, you got to love what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I want a place where these people, they want to show up. They want to learn the latest programs. They want to kick ass. And they want to be super creatives. Because in my world, I can't think of anything better to be.
When you give somebody an incentive to follow their passion, that's where they get excited about it. I worked my way through school and fast food and door-to-door sales and all this stuff, and I did it because I had to make the money, but I had zero passion. If you're able to give a building for people to go to with different bays of technology focused on art and how to hone your craft, and you're teaching them, and whether it's conservative or right of center or not, you're giving people the ability to voice their passion. And I think that's where you'll find their motivation, where they do get in early.
There will be no leftists there.
I wouldn't think so. Or at least eventually, if they do show up with a leftism.
There has to be some sweet spot to where I don't want it to become an indoctrination center.
Yeah.
I just want... I just don't need people poisoning the water, is what I don't need. It's like there are plenty of young conservatives or libertarians that want to learn how to do this. And you know what? The left has every university and every other damn place in the world. Let them have at it. I want a place where people think and they challenge themselves, and there are no safe spaces, kind of a thing. Yeah. And
there's a few other people doing what you do on the right of center in the art world. But what has been the reaction within that? You drive down the street here to Venice or whatever it is. What do people say to you when you're Sabo? What's the general response?
Fortunately, it hadn't happened that much. You do get people look at you. I have had people walk up once in a while. Uh-huh. It's usually positive. I've had some guy in Berkeley flip me off and fuck you, Sabo. And I thought it was funny. It's like, wow, I'm all the way up in Berkeley and this guy with an afro knows who I am. Or I'm down at Venice and some dude starts screaming about some shirt that I have. And
let me guess.
Muhammad's a homo. But I played him like a fiddle. It was ridiculous. But what is it? It's odd when that happens, but I don't know. I'm from a different world, man. It's like I will punch you if I have to. It's like I don't want to, but I know when you're in danger, you got to get out of danger, and that's that. So I don't. I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself to be a violent person in that way. But whatever. It's like we actually had breakfast in like Los Feliz or Silver Lake. I felt like I was in enemy territory, man.
Yeah.
I was surrounded by hipsters, and not just hipsters. Ultra hipsters.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, and I was
I've
waiting.
been down there a lot.
Chicks with their boobs hanging out of their shirts and everything, and I'm like,
and not the good kind.
yeah, and put a bra on, young lady. No, but it's like, I was like, damn. I was half waiting for someone to like look and point at me and say something like, "There's a Nazi in the room," and they will do it.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I was dating somebody in Silver Lake, and I used to spend a lot of time down there, and. I saw Russell Brand, the comedian. He was sitting across from me, and this is right when he made that really awful comment about Bush. And it's I don't know, 7-8 years ago or something like this. And I was just glaring at him, and he had his sycophants around us, and he was just sitting there. He was just looking at me like, "What? You don't like me?" And I was just like, the entire community was all glummed onto to this hatred of anything conservative, and it was this entire discussion. So that's the norm there, but. They're good people. They have, I think, good hearts. They just have been misdirected as far as... this is my belief. You tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. My belief is this. Most of these people have been raised to see the world a certain way, and they just don't know enough to know what they don't know. And you show them what conservatism is, free markets, individualism, all right, giving people a sense of not entitlement from the state, but entitlement of motivation. People would agree with that.
Yeah, it just has to be worded in such a way that resonates with them, and that's where we usually fail.
Yeah.
Russell Brand loves hearing himself speak.
Oh.
It's like, that guy's gross. It's like, I sat across from him once, and he was staring at me like I was a salami sandwich or like some kind of a hamburger.
He stares you down.
No. He was looking at me like he wanted to date me.
Maybe he wanted to date you. He looked at me with vitriol.
No, but it was like, no, I read across him more than my share of times. But it's like... you're
just so irresistible.
No. Well, I was a lot younger then. But what's the deal? The thing is, what happens, I think, with a lot of these celebrities is they feel guilty. They have so much money, so much resources. Yeah. They get the opportunity to fly to all these hellholes that they now feel guilty because not only do they have that much money, they're being exposed to so many poor people around the world.
Yeah.
And their solution is to take money from the hardworking people of America.
Right.
And it's like, no, maybe they should embrace capitalism the way we do, or the way you did. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think it's evil when someone like Shepard Fairey starts pushing socialism and anti-consumerism and anti-capitalism, because that's the ladder that he used to climb up into the ranks, to become a multi-millionaire by God knows how much.
Right.
What he basically is doing is kicking the rungs as he walks up the steps or the ladder. And it's
crushing the skulls beneath him.
And it's like, no, you're basically telling kids, don't do it the way I did, but you're enjoying the fruits of capitalism and consumerism. Yeah. That's just plain evil. Yeah. And I have to think that they take a step back and realize that's what they're doing and that they're frauds. But I can only imagine that moment in their lives when they wake up and they realize they're frauds. Mm-hmm. But they got agents to feed, and they've got a multi-million-dollar house they have to support, and they've got huge numbers of cars that they have to, whatever. It's like they're bought into it. They're slaves to it now. Mm-hmm. But that's why I love hearing about Nicolas Cage now. He's like, he's got to start doing movies to pay his back taxes. It's like, well, maybe he shouldn't have bought a fucking dinosaur head. But
a dinosaur head?
Yeah, like
it's like Michael Jackson with the Elephant Man.
Or an island. But
Johnny Depp's another guy in trouble, right?
Oh, Johnny Depp. Well, he's got like 14 homes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, for God's sakes, man, when don't you go like, well, you know what? I think I kind of topped off at 3-4 homes. But it's like, I don't get it. You know, they don't live in the same world that we live in.
Right, right.
But
so, love to see some of the art. You want to share us some of the how the magic is made? We can take a break and maybe take the camera off and show us the machine or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Whatever you want to do. Maybe we can clear this place up and I can show you around.
Yeah. All right. So show us around, buddy.
All right. This is an Epson 9900. First thing I did when I made any amount of money was paid everyone I owed. I think I owed every one of my friends like $500, and then I paid them off. And then the next thing I did was bought this printer, because I would have to go to a printer to have every poster I sold. It was ridiculous how much I was paying for it. And one thing I like is I like watching how people do things.
Yeah.
And if I figure I can do that. So I looked at the printers that they had. I priced them. I said, you know what? It would be smarter for me to just buy one. So I went and I bought it. And it's an amazing printer.
So when you see the bus benches and the billboard things, it's coming from this.
Yeah, I hesitate saying that because the SWAT team's going to come in and confiscate it as evidence. But yeah, pretty much. It's like at 44 inches, it's just wide enough to print two bus benches.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, man, I actually feel guilty now. It's I keep telling myself, no more bus benches.
Why?
No more installations. Because
Jimmy Kimmel loves them. Come on.
To tell you the truth, it's like, I don't like getting in the way of people's finances. And it's like, these people are trying to run a legit business.
Okay.
They have to send people out to change them and all this kind of stuff. And I hate doing that, which I'm sure there's a lot of street artists out there that would they're flipping me off and laughing right about now.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's just who I am.
So where do you go besides the bus benches? You got the posters on the side of the bus.
Yeah, I do that. Sometimes I do hangers or whatever.
Right. You did that with the Golden Globes.
Yeah, I may hit a few more billboards. Leave it at that.
Okay.
And just leave it at that.
The Al Franken thing was awesome.
That was
a huge project for you.
That was probably the funnest one, the craziest one that I've done.
Yeah.
And to just see like a crew of guys load up the Jeep and go out there with this big Al Franken on. It was the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I was literally laying in bed wanting to call this off because I was afraid someone was going to die. But I went to the billboard and I role played this thing at least 10 times.
Okay.
And then I brought the crew out there and I had them look at it and role play it. So it almost became a dance.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, okay, this is what you're going to do.
It's totally choreographed.
It's choreographed really well. It got up there really fast. And of course, everyone thinks they have a better way of doing it. And I have to be the a-hole and say, shut the hell up. This is how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And they would do it, and it worked.
The Vice piece on HBO a few weeks ago, the cop drove by. You guys were on Wilshire Boulevard. You guys are throwing up the big thing around, what was that, a telephone wire or something?
Some kind of
well, right. And you guys were hustling and running. Was that just drama or?
No, that was real.
Okay.
I go in the zone sometimes.
Yeah.
There are times when you'll run into 26 police cars or however many. And it's always like a running joke. It's like once we get out on the street, we count how many police we see.
Yeah.
And once you're committed and you're doing your thing, everything for me just shuts down. It's like there was actually a car coming from behind. And I was like, screw that car. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And zoom by. And I was really focused on what we were doing. And one of them happened to be a police car. And it was like, it came, it passed. And why did we start running? I started running not because I was afraid. I started running because when you're holding onto a rope, I'm worried that another car's going to come and get tangled up on the rope. And one, get tangled up on the rope. But two, snatch my hand because my hand's all wrapped up in this line.
Right.
So it's like I've got all these things running through my head, and I don't want anyone to get hurt. So it really turns into that, clearing the line off the road and all this kind of stuff. Right. So, but yeah, and then it turns into, oh my God, he kept going. Let's get the hell out of here.
Right.
So we made our way out.
Yeah. Now, you don't just do art and posters. You also do physical art. A couple of years ago, you did the vending machine thing for Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
With the diplomas. It was hilarious. We did a thing on that. I'm standing under a big pile of poop. Okay,
Which is
Bernie,
a large version of
right?
this.
How do you make this type of stuff?
You know,
And the vending machines and all that.
I have a set builder.
Okay.
I have a set builder that puts this stuff together for me.
Yeah.
And we actually want to try and do an Oscar, like a 6-foot Oscar, and put on like a 5-foot base, and do like a pull down the Oscar the way they were doing all the Confederate statues in the South, because it represents misogyny, rape culture, and all this kind of stuff. And on Oscar night, we wanted to do that. So we may not. I may actually go to the Oscars, so I may not have the opportunity to do
How
that.
cool is this going to be? You got to live tweet this or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm going to try. It's
Yeah.
like I'm worried that if I do that, they're going to like shut me down as I'm walking in. But who knows? I mean, I'm half waiting for this woman that invited me to like she's Molly Cyrus's best friend, and she's gonna have like 10 guys that are waiting to kick my butt. So,
Well, we can't show the Molly Cyrus piece because
Yeah.
terms and but there was an issue with that. We talked about that, from the copyright standpoint. But I mean, when you talk about a musician who poses naked, and uses her sexuality in a really kind of a gross, disgusting way to sell herself, and then she's about Me Tooism, right? There's got to be other people that are going to be at the Oscars that are going to be like, yeah, thumbs up on that one, man, because she made everybody look bad here. I don't know. What do you think?
I think everything that we loved has just gone to crap. I mean, look at every halftime show that has gone on in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like with a whole wardrobe malfunction that we knew was deliberate. To
That was the Janet Jackson?
Janet Jackson with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Then you had the whole like Black Panther thing with Beyonce last year. And I mean, the Grammys are just disgusting. And what I mean by that is they'll look at the listen to the lyrics of a lot of the words.
I didn't watch it because I don't like that music.
Particularly coming out of the hip hop community.
Right.
It's like you'll have a young black man look at you like, you don't like me because I'm black. It's like, no, I don't like you because I've got my 5-year-old daughter with me. You just drove your car by with some music going on about how you're about to rape some woman.
Right.
And it's like, that's what I don't like. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
You're an a-hole. And it's like, but you have it in your mind that it's because you're black.
And that's celebrated. Do you think it's celebrated because of the, let's say, the talent, or because of the message, or it's a cultural argument? I don't know. What do you think?
I think they have it in their minds that they're still the rebels.
Yeah.
I mean, they look at the halftime show in the Super Bowl as some kind of a ritual. It's kind of like they have the eyes and ears of millions of people in America, and this is their opportunity to push Satanism, sexism, sex, and all this kind of stuff in the face of America. And for some strange reason, the people at the NFL just decided, hey, this is a good way to go. Let's
do we know
it.
who's doing the halftime this weekend in Minnesota?
It's going to be Justin Timberlake.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah,
he's all right.
He was a wardrobe malfunction dude.
Okay.
So God only knows what he's going to do this time. But
but you can let a child listen to Justin Timberlake.
Maybe.
So take a look here at some of the other pieces that you have. So, okay, Jimmy Kimmel. He actually sent you a message, right?
Yes, he did. He flipped me off. God bless Jimmy. I don't understand Jimmy Kimmel. He used to do the Man Show, and now
which was great, by the way. Adam Carolla.
And I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch it because I'm not into those kinds of like I'm a guy kind of shows.
This is so good.
But then he goes all estrogen on us, and he's crying every week, trying to push some policies in Washington, and it's like, Jimmy, shut up. And I put one deliberately where I knew he was going to go from his house to the studio.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he jumped out of his car. He sat on one of the benches and he flipped me off. And he sent that photograph to the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you, Jimmy. You just made this thing go viral.
Yeah.
So he did that. And he's trying to rebound. It's like, I think the attack that he took.
What do you mean? What happened?
Well, it's like when you write him off as the biggest puss in the planet, and he's always crying, and it went viral the way that it did. Now all of a sudden he's got to try and counter that. So he has like Matt Damon and George Clooney and all these guys on there trying to man him back up. And now I think he's on the cover of GQ Like
who is
Jimmy Kimmel?
Jimmy Kimmel on the cover of GQ. GQ used to be about handsome dudes, right?
Yeah. And nice clothes. I don't know, but
I don't know.
I think it's about like his comeback or something like that. It's like,
well, if he can just be a comedian and tell us some jokes, the guy is standing up and he's patronizing everybody and telling us about economic policy and healthcare policy and
Hollywood.
Come on,
Hollywood, the whole comedy industry. It's just it's turned into such a PC culture. A friend of mine who's a producer and who actually produces. He's like, what's going on in Hollywood's crazy. It's like it's just insane. The whole PC culture of it all, and I get it. It's really up to us to say enough. The whole cha-ching thing. It's like you had prophets of rage. It's like I changed it from prophets, like as in like Jesus or Muhammad,
right,
to like cha-ching, making money, because these people they basically profit off of the discontent of the minority people out there, just the poor people out there. And every one of these guys in this band is worth at least $10 million, anywhere from $10 to $30, $50 million. They haven't had a broke day in God knows how long.
Yeah. And
they just know that how they make money is by making sure everyone's nice and pissed off. And they like keeping people nice and pissed off.
How do you relate that to postmodernism or communism as a color scheme here?
Well, that's actually Shepard Fairey design.
Okay.
It's like what it is it's the original poster is a fist doing like a power fist.
Gotcha.
And I just changed it to no, it's like the cha-ching.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's take a look at the bus benches here because I mean this is one of the greatest quotes, you know, and we've said this a lot, and I've talked about it with a lot of our guests on the show. It really is. You know, the new counterculture is against the leftism that's permeated our universities and culture and movies and this and that. So, you know, I mean, this is your quote. I mean, you're probably going to go down, you know, 100 years from now when there's no Sabo.
I hope so, but unfortunately, I think Paul Joseph Watson kind of snaked me after that.
With the InfoWars?
He did something that's very similar, and he's got a much larger audience than I have.
Uh-huh.
But check the dates, see who said it first.
All right.
But I'm fairly certain I was first.
Yeah.
And I most certainly did not copy Paul.
This is one of my favorite ones. I'm not a Star Wars guy. I watched this on Netflix, and this. I mean, it's just perfect.
No, yeah, that worked out well. Star Wars came out Rogue One, and of course it's a pun. But
loved it.
Yeah, it worked out really well. I like that.
This is really great.
I was surprised how many people liked it.
Yeah. And then, so, you know, are you still planning on doing bus benches then, or?
Am I still planning on doing bus benches?
Yeah, you were talking
possibly,
about, you know.
Maybe, not as many.
Philosophical issue with it.
You know what they're actually doing is they're adding security to it, to where it's harder to get into them.
Okay.
And it's not hard to get, break through that security, but all I know
but
is...
you don't want to damage it either, right?
Well, I mean, if there's a lock, I'm genuinely not going to break it.
Right.
And I mean, if it just requires some tools, like that you can get from a Home Depot or whatever, that you have in your toolbox, I kind of see it as a different thing.
Right.
But no, they're starting to put these deliberately put locks on them.
Okay.
So it's like, you know what, I'm not going to screw with them that much anymore. But I mean, if the opportunity comes up, who knows?
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing us around, man. I appreciate it. I mean, this is when you see this stuff on the streets, it's like first you've got to conceptually think about it, then you got to draw it out, and then you're using your computers, and then you got it printed, and then you've got a ragtag team of guys that are running out in the middle of the night and doing this. I mean, it is a long process, right? From a germ of an idea to actually seeing it happen.
And the beauty of it is I can do it in like 24 hours.
That's amazing.
It's like I've done it even shorter. It's like I've gone out on the street at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't have the first poster printed out till like 9 that night.
Right.
So it's pretty
How long does it take to print on that machine one of these long bus bench posters?
There lies the beauty of it. It's like once you have the power to print at will, that cuts a lot of time. So you're right. The first hard thing is the idea. Once you have the idea down, I've been doing this long enough. It's almost like playing piano for me. So it's like I just like boom, I can knock down the creative fairly quickly.
And that's what makes him so timely, right? Jimmy Kimmel gets up and he talks about Obamacare. You've got something within 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I mean, If I was living in Denver or if I was living in Louisiana and I thought that I could just jump in a plane and go and hit in LA, it'd be pretty difficult, particularly when you're dealing with such a small time frame.
Right, right.
It becomes pretty difficult. But yeah, I mean, so many years of experience doing what I do really goes into this happening so quickly.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you're listening to this on our podcast episode, go find the video. We'll have a link to YouTube, and you can actually see what we're talking about here. And you can also meet with Sabo on March the 17th at Saving California in Burbank Marriott, I think it is, right?
Yep.
Burbank Marriott. And so come on by, say hello, meet the man himself, and man, appreciate this. Really do. Inviting us into the inner sanctum, right?
Sure enough. I appreciate you coming down.
My pleasure. And folks, you can continue to follow us at ricochet.com and find Whiskey Politics on iTunes. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, and that can help others find us. And we'll be back again real soon at Whiskey Politics. I'm Dave Sussman. Thanks for listening.